What is going on, guys? Psytician here once again with another video, and today we will be talking about Victor. So, I've been playing Victor for somewhere around, I would say, almost 2.5, 3 seasons now. So, I just wanted to be able to share what I learned about the character for you all who are trying to pick him up and learn more about the character. So we will go into his builds, his general play style, his matchups, and we will also go into some of the like unique and niche interactions that happen with some of his abilities. And yeah, and we'll finish it off with some gameplay. And without further ado, we'll get right into it. All right, so the first thing that we need to start off with when we are talking about Victor, I think addressing his runes would be better to do first. So right off the bat, you take Summon Airy. I think that this is his best rune page overall. This is most definitely his best rune page. Because Summon Airy, you can proc this multiple times in the laning phase very, very easily. And since Victor's abilities, you can cycle them pretty easily. You'll be able to get a lot of damage off of Summon Airy. Mana Flow Band, this is because his abilities cost quite a bit of mana, and this helps out a lot with that. Like you get 1% of your missing mana back every 5 seconds. So this helps you so you can spam your abilities in the laning phase. Transcendence, very underrated, but it's very, very good. The extra haste that you get, but the biggest thing is the level 11 on takedowns. It reduces your cooldowns by 20%. So it can help you end up like chaining kills that way. So very, very, very strong on him. Scorch, so check this out. The thing about Scorch is, I initially thought that this was not that good on him when I first started playing, and I used to opt for Gathering Storm like every game because I felt like Victor does not have the strongest late game. It's better now that they upgraded his ultimate, but before, he started to feel pretty bad as far as like AP wise. Like he can't keep up with a character like Syndra. Like you'll just get outdamaged later on in the game. But I've noticed going back to Scorch, you get a lot of damage off of Scorch in your laning phase. A lot of it. This is very strong on Victor, and I think that you should probably take this every game. The only time I would opt for Gathering Storm if you're not looking for solo kills in your lane, or if you can't poke them out of lane. Somebody like maybe like Yone, but we will get to him in a little bit later. But Shield Bash, this procs on your Q, so it gives your Q extra damage and it gives you extra shielding too. So your shield gets stronger by a little bit and you do more damage on your Q based on your shield. Then you have Bone Plating. This is good if you are fighting against melee attackers. Otherwise, I would swap this out with Second Wind. But honestly, I've been taking this into some poke lanes too because you have so much range. If you know how to space well, they can't really hit you with abilities like that. And it helps out of lane quite a bit. But if you're fighting against another mage, just go Second Wind. I think Second Wind would be pretty good to go here. For his second page. So once again, you will go Summon Airy because this is like his second best rune page. To me, Mana Flow Band once again. Now, what you can do because of this secondary rune page, you can actually swap out Mana Flow Band for Axiom Arcanist. You can swap it out since you have Presence of Mind, because this is going to give you back mana. So, um, honestly, I don't think this rune is that good on him, but you can make that change. Because the thing is, when you put both Mana Flow Band and Presence of Mind together, you can actually hold off on buying your Lost Chapter. Like, you don't need it as early anymore because these two runes together give you so much mana in the laning phase. Now, once again, you take the Transcendence because it's it's legit just the best in the rune tree right here. Gathering Storm. So I would take Gathering Storm if I'm fighting like a tank or something. If I'm fighting tanks, this is the rune page that I would take because trying to kill them in the laning phase, you need to use a lot more mana and a lot more spells to start to do damage to them. And more than likely, they're just gonna rush MR into you anyway. So I think it'd be better to just get the extra AP for later on in the game and go cut down so that you can actually do more damage to them later on. So this is like a scaling rune page. Take the 10% attack speed because this helps with his Q a lot. Like he needs this attack speed rune. So don't forget this. This is a very, very good on him. Don't underestimate this 10% attack speed. That's very good. For his third rune page. Now, I would only go this if you're going some weird tanky build. Otherwise, I would not go this. I took it into Yone because I really hate fighting against this character. Yone is just very, very tanky in the laning phase. It's very hard to poke him out of the lane. Um, so I normally take Grasp into him if I'm looking to solo kill him. If not, I will go one of the other two rune pages. So, um, yeah. So this is like the rune page that I would use only to fight against like Yone. That's pretty much it. That's the only character I really use it for. But or if you play Viktor top, but don't play him top unless you're really good on Viktor. Yeah, that's the only time I would go this. I've seen Dunn do it. He's a very good Viktor player, and he played it into Fiora, and he did really good. So yeah, do with that information what you will. But this is the three main rune pages that I see people run on him. Now there is one more that I see people go with secondary biscuits and cosmic insight. But you can just make that change yourself depending on if you need more sustain and you think you need access to your items and your summoner spell earlier. But other than that, I would only go these two rune pages really. These are like his two best. Now, check this out. I'm gonna make this disclaimer before I go into his builds because I did not talk about First Strike on Viktor. First Strike is a very weak rune in general. Not that many characters can really use it well. Viktor can, but I don't think that it's worth going First Strike over the other two runes. You lack so much more damage, and you lose access to the a lot of the runes in the sorcery rune tree, which are just very good for him. You can go some secondary on him, right? Secondary sorcery, but I think that it's much better to just go one of the other two builds over First Strike. It's just a very weak rune in general. You won't even get that much gold in the laning phase, so I don't think that it's worth it overall. Moving on though. Before we go into his builds, we will talk about his abilities just for just a little bit. For just a little bit. Alright, so starting with his Q. Starting with his Q is just he fires like a disc at you. Right? And it does damage, it gives him a shield, and then he gets another proc afterward that he can hit you a second time with an empowered auto attack. It's like a laser. That does a lot of damage. So what people like to do for the laning phase, they will Q. Yeah, they will Q. They will auto you first, then Q, then hit you with the second part of the Q. So you can also auto cancel the Q by slightly walking. Like that. Like if you rapidly click on them, instead of doing like this, it'll look more like this. That's how you mostly want to hit people. Also, the second part of his Q has a little bit less range than the first part. Just a little bit. So you have to step up a little bit further in order to hit the second part of Q. Which that isn't right here for some reason. But you see how my character walks a little bit more forward? That's because you need um to be closer to use the actual laser, which doesn't make any sense, but that's just the way it's coded. Um yeah, and we will talk about the upgrades all together. So let's just move on to the E here. So the E is Viktor's best ability. It just fires out a laser in a straight line. This beam is pretty much unreactable. Like, most pro players say you can't even dodge this ability. Viktor just has to straight up miss. He has to miss it. What I would do in your settings as well. All right, that took me a minute to find. Sorry about that. But yeah, but what I was saying earlier, this ability, his E, the way it normally looks is like this. This ability is kind of wonky where you are not in your initial cast if you cast outside of this circle here. So say if I had it up here, I would have to walk over here first, then the ability will come out the way I want it to. I would have to walk in range, then it will use the way it is initially supposed to be cast. So what I do, I'll lock this to max range, right? Because if you do not do this, it will cause you to walk up further than you want to a lot of the time. And I think that it's just straight up better to lock it so that you always at max range. So if I wanted to hit somebody here, I can do that. But you see how much range this covers. I can pretty much hit them almost from across the entire river. Pretty much, for the most part. But if you have this off, you have to just be better at getting to your max range, right? Otherwise, you will end up walking out of position somewhat, way more than you have to. So go to game settings, clamp this to max range so it won't go outside of your max range, right? So you can always just hit your max range. It's very, very important. Otherwise, playing this character gets a little bit harder. W, okay, fun ability, man. So the way his W works is he sits down this circle in a radius, right? Like you and your allies can walk through it fine. It doesn't do anything grand. The only thing that it does early game is that it stuns whoever walks into it for a certain amount of time. So like they stay in it for almost 2 seconds, about 1 second, yeah, about 125 seconds. They stay in it. This thing stacks up on them, right? It stacks up on them. They get slowed and they get stunned. So both of them happens. They get slowed like this. You walk into it, you get slowed, then eventually you get stunned. This is his only defensive option that he has, besides the movement speed he gets off his Q later on. So what you want to do with this ability, in order to catch people with it, you would try to catch them by putting it in the way they have to walk. So if I'm trying to escape and somebody's chasing after me, unless they're at the max range of my W like this, I put it where I'm walking. So I would put it here and walk past it. And if they chase, they get stunned. You use it as a trap. Or in chaotic team fights, you put it in the path they have to walk. So if they have to walk here, I would put it there. If they're right in front, I would put it here. Because it covers a lot of range. And whoever gets walked into it, it's an AoE stun. So it doesn't matter how many targets are in it. It stuns literally everybody. So that is why this is a very powerful ability, but it also sucks because there's so much movement speed in the game. So yeah, now we're going to move on to the upgraded versions of his abilities after we get to the ult. So let's go with the ult now. All right, so Viktor R, right? Viktor R, the only thing that it does is it summons a big circle, and all it does is just does damage, man. Like, everything in a circle just takes damage. Big AoE, very, very fun to use. But the only thing is, you can do two different things with his ultimate, right? you can make it target a specific person and it'll only target them. So wherever they go, like the circle would stay on their head. Like you see the thing above it, like that's how you know that it changed targets. There's a thing that appears above their head when it's targeting somebody. Like see? That means wherever they decide to move, the ult is going to follow them. They cannot escape. It'll chase them around the map. You can also target yourself though. So, like if I target myself, my ult will just follow me. I do that when people are chasing after me and you don't have time to keep repositioning your ult over and over and over again. And you know that they want you, so I would just put it like this. When they want to chase after me. Very, very good tool for that. Most of the time though, I'm just make it target somebody and just have it chase them. Wherever they decide to go, it'll just chase after them. And it's very, very easy to use it that way. Now, what people like to do to land the ultimate, because it's not very fast. This is a very slow ability. Most characters with dashes can get out of it very, very easily. So you would normally combo it after you either slow them with this, they're chasing after you, or if you land the stun. The cooldown on it is relatively high early game, so it'll be better if you land this after they get stunned. So you stun them, then you go into the ult. You have a very long stun duration, right? They're stunned for almost 2 seconds. So you get at least about 3 procs of your ultimate before they can get out of it. But keep in mind, hitting them with the initial burst of your ultimate does the most damage. So like the first hit, that one. The rest of the hits do like subsequent damage. It's like half, almost, a little bit less, a little bit more than half. But it's still damage, right? And it lasts for almost 7 seconds. Now there is a bug on Viktor right now where sometimes your ult hits more times than it should. No, sometimes it hits 7 times and sometimes it hits 1 less. So it hits 6 times. This is a bug. I don't know what causes it. I'm going to put some footage of that up as well, where I was testing this out in a practice tool. It's very, very strange. All right, so here's the footage that I have talking about this ultimate here. Like as you can see, like I was counting them off how many times his ult's supposed to hit. That was 7 hits, so it did 4,000 damage, right? It hit 7 times. So so we refresh the ultimate again, then we use it a second time. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then it stopped. So you see, I'm lacking almost 500 damage here, and it's very inconsistent. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it hit 7 times there. I don't know what causes it to do this, but yeah, it's just bugged where sometimes you don't get all your damage. All right, so let's talk about Viktor's passive. Viktor's passive is every time anything dies, minions or champions, you get stacks, right? So if I kill this minion, you can see I have 2 stacks right here. So if this dies, now I have 3. Every time you kill these minions, you get stacks. You get the most stacks for killing the champions, you get 20. So once you reach 100, you can upgrade one of your abilities. So we will show that next. That took a minute to do because there's no way I can just auto stack it. But taking a look at this, so there's an animation that plays every time Viktor gets an upgrade. So now, as before, when I shot the laser, it was only 1 laser going across. Now, there's an after image. So, yeah. So there's an after image afterward. Whereas my Q, I hit it, it gives me a small shield. right? And then I upgrade it. The shield is increased by 60%, and I gain 30% movement speed now. So now, every time I hit like the dummy or something, now I get this massive movement speed buff. And this is so good for kiting, man. You being able to kite with this, your shield's so much bigger. They normally take this second. I wouldn't go at first. In a lot of matchups, the majority of the time you want to go E first because this helps with your wave clear a lot. So moving on, you have the W. The W is kind of like a niche upgrade. You upgrade it last. I don't really see a situation where maxing this out second is worth it because the only thing that this does is give you a 20% slow for 1 second on your abilities. So right now, my abilities do not slow. The only thing that slows is my W for 33 right now, 33% slow. But now animation plays again. Now all of my abilities apply a slow. See, this unit's movement speed is slowed. So yeah, that's very good for trying to kite. So when you hit the person, you get 30% movement speed. They lose 20% of their movement speed. And if they still try to chase you anyway, you throw down your W. They will not be able to really chase you like that unless they have insane mobility. Now, his last upgrade, which is the ultimate, still does the same thing. But once you get this upgrade, it moves faster. The 20% speed increase is so massive, dude. Now, the way his abilities used to work before they did his rework is you would get all 3 of these upgrades. Then your ultimate will automatically move 20% faster. But since they upgraded his abilities and they changed the way that they work a little bit, now the hex fragments give you a little bit less because cannon minions used to give you like 25 hex fragments. Now they give you 10, but you get no, they used to give you 5. I'm sorry. Killing cannon minions used to give you 5, and killing champions used to give you 25. They made it so that the cannons now give you 10 hex fragments, and the champion takedowns give you 20 now. So cannon minions are way more valuable than they used to be because you need to try to rush to get to this last one. This last one is very, very strong. So it plays again. Also, if you did not know, you cannot upgrade any of your abilities unless you pick an augment. That's just a random tidbit. I thought it'd be pretty interesting. So now that I upgraded the ultimate, what it used to do is when you kill the person, that was it. It didn't do anything major. But now, if you hit somebody, it gets bigger in size. And it grows every time somebody dies. And it just keeps getting bigger and the duration gets higher and higher and higher. So you gain 3 seconds of duration every time one of them dies. So yeah, it makes it so that his late game team fighting is just so much better than it used to be. Yeah, that's pretty much how his abilities work. They're super straightforward, but this late game chain killing. Now, in order for it to increase in size, they have to get hit by the ult at least one part. So like they have to get hit by 1 tick of the ultimate in order for it to get bigger. Because if you don't hit them with the ultimate, it won't grow in size. All right, let's talk builds, man. Like that's one of the most important parts about the character, right? So season 14 builds, just straight up delete all this stuff. So VIKTOR has 3 Lost Chapter items that he can normally go, and it's not Troll. So you have Looter's Companion that you can go. I would only go this item if you're gonna go a burst build. So into squishy people, like you have maybe like a Lux, a ADC, maybe a Yasuo on the enemy team. Then for top lane, they probably have like a Camille or something. Somebody who doesn't really build a bunch of plates of armor. Maybe like a Pantheon support or a Nami. Yeah, I would definitely go Luden's Companion like every game because the upfront burst feels very good on him. Also, Lich Bane. So the thing about Lich Bane is that this item is actually very good. Like, why do you get 50% attack speed? I didn't even know that they put that on this item until a while back when I just
Your
started hitting
inhibitor
things very,
has been
very quickly.
destroyed.
But, yeah, especially if you want to go ADC, definitely go Lich Bane second. It's just worth it. So yeah, Death Cap third is obviously one of the best items that you can go on him. Next, I would say probably either Shadow Flame or Void Staff if you did not upgrade the Dark Seal. I think Dark Seal is very, very good on him because Victor doesn't have that much KP in the early game at all. Like, solo killing people is probably not going to happen unless they make a mistake. But yeah, this would be his burst build. I would only go this if I'm trying to burst the person down very, very quickly. And my only job is to output as much damage as possible, as quickly as possible. This would probably be my go-to build. You can opt to build one of the niche items here, any of them, um, if you need to. Either that or Void Staff. One of these avoid for your fifth item. All right, so let's talk about his tank build, right? So for his tank build, he can go Blackfire Torch. This is like the only correct option. I think you should go Leandries. And third, either Death Cap or Void Staff. I've been having more success going Death Cap and then Void Staff afterward because Void Staff is a lot more effective the more AP you have because it's 40% pin. But I've tried other items on him like Crit Bloom and stuff like that. I don't really think that is worth it. Victor needs as much AP as possible because this character, he doesn't have the best AP ratios in the game. So what I would do is build as high AP items as possible on him. It's just worth it to just go as much AP as you can. Now, this particular build that I went right here, these four items, you have a free slot to build any of these other items in this slot, right? Now, for shoes, personally, I think Swifties is like the best shoes in the game for Victor, at least. You can go Sorcerer Shoes or you can go Ionians if they have a lot of tanks. Because getting more rotations of abilities off would be more useful than trying to just get that extra pin. So, yeah, keep that in mind. But yeah, these shoes, I think you should probably just default Swifties like every game.
Your
Because my main
inhibitor
thing,
has
since
been
the
destroyed.
changes to Victor, since they changed him so that you need the extra 100 fragments in order to get the movement speed on its ultimate, it makes it very inconsistent to try to finish off people and get the most of your ult. So to compensate for that, you
Your
need more movement
inhibitor has
speed
been
so
destroyed.
that you can actually finish off targets. Like I've been very inconsistent on Victor for a very long time and I could not climb because every single time I try to finish somebody off, they would escape because they're just way too fast. There's too much movement speed in the game. So these help out a lot with that. And I've tried almost everything. I've tried the Rallies. I've tried going Cosmic Drive. I tried building Phase Rush. I tried a whole bunch of different stuff. What worked the best and that's the most consistent is just building Swifties. These are the holy grail, man. It helps so much. But anyway, now that I've done that rant, we can move on to the niche items. These items that you can build every
Excellent.
single game in one of your last item slots, right? Because you already got the core items. Like you built these, you're good. You built these, you're good. You maybe sell Dark Seal if you don't need it. Now you have an extra item slot to build whatever you want. Get one of the niche items, one of the defensive items here. Now, for Archangel Staff, I really would not go this item if you can help it because these other two items just do way more damage. It's just not even worth in a lot of cases to build Archangel Staff because you really don't need it. Unless you're going a tanky build, don't go this. Don't go this unless you're committing to building like HP items. Then if you do decide to do that, you're giving up a lot of your early game too. So you will go like tier into Leandry's first item, then finish Archangel Staff afterward, like that. That is the build that you would probably go into Deathcap third, right? But yeah, if they have majority AP, build Banshee's Veil. Majority AD, get Zhonya's. If they have abilities that you need to dodge, big ults like Diana ult, Katarina ult, you can probably just opt Zhonya's in those situations anyway. If you just need to dodge those two abilities. Yeah. Then you have the do not build items. These items are awful on him. Don't build them. Don't build Rallies, don't build Malignants, don't build Storm Surge, and don't build Bloodletter's Curse. I thought this item would be good on him because it's like, yo, you deal damage with your abilities, and it just shreds armor. It's like a magic Black Cleaver, but no, it doesn't work like that because each instance of Viktor's abilities only count as you hitting them once. So you can hit them with both parts of E, hit them with both parts of Q, hit them with ultimate, and it's only gonna shred like 4. And you need to hit them, how many times does this stack? Stacks up to 30. Right, so since it stacks up to 30, you have to hit them with 6 abilities in order to get the max armor pin. It'd be better to just get the 40% pin, man. It's just better. Like, yeah, you get the extra HP, but the AP on this is not really worth it. So, yeah, don't build this item. Your ultimate gets a low enough cooldown that building Malignants is not really worth it. Yeah, you don't really need that. Like 70 seconds, this would be up every single minute at level 2. So you don't really need that either. Storm Surge requires you to burst somebody as quickly as possible. Viktor isn't really about bursting people. He's about getting multiple rotations of abilities off in order to deal all his damage because his cooldowns gets very, very low. He gets low cooldowns, especially on his Q. So building Storm Surge doesn't really make sense. And then the item was nerfed multiple times. It's not very good. Don't build Rallies because your abilities already apply a 20% slow. Don't build this. It's bad. It gives you low amounts of AP, gives you a lot of health, but you would be better off building one of the niche items like Cosmic Drive or Morello's. At least these give you more value than this item would. Because, yeah, you get an increased slow. The only caveat to Rallies is you get a 30% slow on your ultimate, which is kind of funny. I would do it for like a troll vid. Like if you're trolling and you just want to slow people in this giant massive ult and they can't escape. Yeah, go this item then. But other than that, don't build this item. It's not good. I think that about covers all of his item choices for the most part. These are like the main items that you will build on Viktor. I don't really see pro players building anything else. If you all see another item that they build on Viktor, let me know because I'm also looking into these things as well. And I'm learning more stuff about the character as we go along. Alright guys, this video ended up being way longer than I expected because there's just so much to cover and talk about. So one thing that I'm going to do is put this into parts. If you all enjoyed this video, please give a like, comment down below, and I'll see you all in the next video for part 2.